Why do Spiribirds even exist? The short answer is because that's how the developers made the game. Well, I don't like it. Spiribirds are a terrible mechanic. Capcom nerfed health, and we shouldn't have to run around the map for 5 minutes just to get back what we had before. Take us back to when we could just use an ancient potion and get all our health and stamina. Capcom made the game worse. Oh, so you want it to work the way it did before? Sure thing, boss. I guarantee you, if Capcom made health work in Sunbreak like it worked in previous games, you'd be begging for them to bring Spiribirds back in no time at all. You see, in old school Monster Hunter, the baseline was 100 health. You could get bonus health by eating a meal, or using a max or ancient potion, or in the case of Monster Hunter 3U and some subsequent games, you could get an armor skill to give you 50 extra health. And no, it didn't stack. 150 was the absolute maximum health you could get. The cost for getting this bonus health was high. Armor skills were very expensive back then. The best builds only had 4 useful skills on them. Likewise, bringing ancient and max potions was expensive. The materials to craft them were harder to get, and pouch space was very limited. On top of that, every time you carted, you went back to the baseline of 100 health. If you wanted 150 health the entire quest, you really had to go out of your way to plan and prepare for it. So you still want to go back to those dark times? You see, Spiribirds are not some random what-if game mechanic that Capcom pulled out of their collective ass. In World, when Capcom added the feature where you can access your box at any time during any quest from camp, along with access to meals from camp, Capcom gave you something very special. No longer were you required to bring everything you need with you in just your inventory, trying to squeeze it into what by today's standards is an impossibly small pouch size. Since World, we have had effectively unlimited max and ancient potions because we have access to our box in Quest now. At first, that sounds amazing and it's really convenient, but what it does is it establishes a new baseline. Having access to your box is no longer a bonus. It's the new normal. Therefore, anything you can get from your box isn't really special anymore. Look at this one simple change to the health system as proof. When you cart, you do not lose your health meter anymore. Because what would be the point? After all, you can just pop into the tent, eat an ancient potion, and get it all right back. So why bother taking that extra 50 health away from you when you could just get it right back immediately anyway? So yeah, Capcom already did you a big favor by giving you access to your box during the quest. But this created a new baseline. And if the bonus becomes the new baseline, then what it does in effect is take away the bonus. Capcom, being filled with game developers smarter than you and me combined, wanted to actually give us more bonuses. But how would they do this? It couldn't be in the form of a potion or anything we could get in the tent. Remember, everything in there is no longer bonus. It's baseline. They had to come up with an entirely new system that was completely optional, and it wasn't just some instantaneous, infinitely renewable buff. You'd have to choose to get it if you wanted or needed it. You'd have to go just a bit, not too far, but a bit out of your way in order to benefit from it. Like back in the dark times when we had to eat a meal before a quest to get the bonus, or sacrifice pouch space for those ancient and max potions, or sacrifice precious armor skills to get the health bonus. So in order to give us an optional bonus, Capcom went back to their roots. Monster Hunter as a hunter-gatherer system. Back in the very early days, that is to say Monster Hunter 1 and 2, gathering was vital. I'd go so far as to say that it was necessary and try too, but it was streamlined quite a bit by then. If you wanted extra stuff to help you on your hunt, you had to spend time gathering it from the environment. Sure, you could set up a farm and have cats do it for you, but some things were either impossible to get from farms or trading, or they were just easier to get by gathering. And I don't mean just grabbing a few things on the way to the monster. Not that easy. You'd have to go on a separate quest dedicated to simply gathering items. Why do you think they called those quests harvest tours back then? They're expedition tours now, a vestigial remnant of Monster Hunter's roots. Since Try, our farms and trading have gotten more elaborate. We have access to so much stuff now without having to gather it. We get so much more in quest rewards too. Gathering supplies on the quest to stockpile for later use outside of the very early game is no longer really necessary. Instead of reworking the entire system to go back to an ancient time, which would in all honesty cause a lot of pain and backlash in the player base, Capcom instead added some crazy new game mechanics based on, you guessed it, gathering things from the environment. And these things are what define Rise as a game, whether you want to accept it or not. Endemic life is Monster Hunter Rise. Just like in all previous versions of Monster Hunter, you can choose to spend some time gathering stuff to make your quests easier and a lot more fun. There are hunting helpers, butterflies, and yes, the infamous Spiribirds. Want that extra health for the entire quest? Grab some birds while you're running to the monster. Get some extra attack, defense, and stamina too. Grab some butterflies for temporary buffs and some beetles to apply blights to the monsters. What's more, gathering and using endemic life takes only a small fraction of the time that gathering took in previous versions of Monster Hunter. You don't have to spend 15 minutes on a separate quest to stock up on materials. You can grab all your buffs in 60 seconds while you run or ride to the monster, and you can grab more as needed throughout the quest. All of the various endemic life on each map gives you amazing magical powers, crazy buffs that you can, if you want to, completely ignore. The game still plays the same way. Just like in all previous versions of Monster Hunter, you can completely ignore the gathering side of the game. With the shift in gaming trends pointing to shorter gaming sessions and a greater desire for more pick up and play features, Capcom was smart enough to realize that if people were choosing to gather stuff, they would want to use it immediately. So Rise is designed around that idea. You don't have to gather anything at all, but now there are hundreds of things you can pick up from the map that are usable right now in their existing form. Things that you can spend a minute or two picking up and shortening your quest by a substantial amount, or even just making the difference between failure and success. Remember, not everybody plays like the people we see on YouTube. Most people need and want all the bonuses they can get. Not only do we have much better meal buffs, not only do we have full access to our box, weapons, items, switch skills, and even more meals in the tent, but on top of that, we have immediately useful options that we can gather before and during our hunt to buff us even further, if we choose. The Spiribirds and all other endemic life are your choice to make. Use them or not. But don't act like Capcom took something away from you. On the contrary, you have more now than you ever have, or possibly ever will.